Shark Tale is one of those childhood gems that many people have grown up on, but the older you get, you kind of realize that this film isn't exactly the best. It starts off as a childhood gem, then becomes nothing more than rusted brass as you get older. But to be fair, it competed against Incredibles and Shrek 2 at the Oscars, and its merchandise was kinda decent. But this film holds a very special place in my childhood as I used to watch this week in and week out. And by the way, just a quick disclaimer, I'm not hating on the film or giving, a deep retrospective. It's just me offering a subjective reading of the film, shaped by my own perspective rather than a definitive judgment. So the film begins with a tour around the fish city, Fishtopia, I don't really know, but it's filled with extremely dumb puns like Coral Cola, Fish King. They even had the nerve to create something called Tuna History Month. Then you have the cannibal fish who charges $4 for salmon roll. So the focus of the movie turns to Oscar, our hero, our so-called savior of the film, giving us the grand tour of his home, showcasing a 60-inch flat screen and other BS, and then proceeds to say even a superstar like him has to have the basic necessities.
Yeah, like money.
Come on, shorties, why y'all messing with my fantasy?
So yeah, Oscar, our protagonist, is basically a bum whose number one ambition is to be rich. So this whole film really here is if Goodfellas had a child with Baby Boy, and then the main traits of that child is just a bunch of unfunny stereotypes turned into a $75 million budget film. So anyways, these kids here remind Oscar that he has work, can you imagine, and swims his way to work, realizing he's already been clocked in by his best friend / colleague, Angie. Angie kind of serves as one of the moral and chill characters of the film. We haven't reached here yet. But she has a crush on Oscar, which confuses me, but as my mother says, there's someone for everyone. So the scene shifts to the Titanic. Nah, not this one. Or actually, maybe it is. We're now entering the Goodfellas portion of the film, which is funny because one of the voice actors of these two characters directed Goodfellas, and the other actually played a character in Goodfellas. Then there's this octopus guy here. He's actually pretty funny in the few scenes he's in.
What? Hello?
Yeah, how you doing? Let me have a pie with everything on it. Anchovies, meatballs, mushrooms.
Luca!
Oh, hi, boss. What are you doing working in a pizza joint?
Get off the phone!
But I'm hungry.
So anyways, Don Lino's explaining to Sykes that his two sons are going to be running the reef in the future, and Sykes is all for son number 1, Frankie, but opposes for son number 2, Lenny. So now we got Frankie and Lenny. Frankie is pretty much your natural cold-blooded killer, the perfect shark to run the reef in the future, and Lenny is just kinda... So in response to Sykes' disagreement to working for Lenny, Lino fires Sykes and has to start paying Don Lino for protection. So we're back at Oscar's job, the whale wash, a 9 to 5 which consists of scrubbing the insides of a whale all day long. I froze the scene to look at the condition of this whale and the amount of fish that are working on this whale. This has to be a full day's work because don't tell me they clean more than one whale a day. So anyways, trouble brews and causes a light disturbance in the workplace. But once that's over, Oscar's peace is short-lived when he's disturbed by these two jellyfish who resemble Rasta men.
That's not the way you sing that song, man.
They later state that Sykes wants to see him immediately. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Sykes owns the whale wash.
You're not snapping it,
Oscar!
Oh, hey, don't sweat it, Sykes. A lot of white fish can't do it.
So Sykes called this meeting together because Oscar owes him $5 grand due to his get-rich-quick schemes, which I don't know why Sykes would even agree to fund. But Sykes needs it by tomorrow to start paying Don Lino.
On top, there's Don Lino. There's me. And there's regular fish. There's rocks. There's whale poo. And then there's you.
That's messed up.
So bring my 5,000 clams to the racetrack tomorrow or else.
Or else what?
Oscar later informs Angie about the situation, and then she asks the $1 million question we're all thinking.
Why do you get yourself into these situations?
Then Oscar completely dodges the question and mopes about how no one loves him because he's a nobody and he wants to live at the top of the reef where the somebodies live. Trust me, I know people who live at the top of the reef and they are very far from being somebodies. But you know how he gets to the top of the reef? By actually working hard. He wants to be rich and famous, but he's stuck down here. Then Angie asks,
What's wrong with down here?
Then he goes on about how his dad was a legendary whale scrubber and all the kids laughed at him. And that kind of concluded his point of how nobody loves a nobody. I mean, as Oscar got older, could he not explore his options and become more than a whale scrubber? To be fair, we don't know how old Oscar is, and I guess there's still a chance for him to elevate, but whatever. When all hope seemed lost for Oscar, Angie gives him her grandmother's pearls, worth the amount needed to pay Sykes. Angie's got to be God's greatest warrior, because there's no way I'm giving up family inheritance to get a guy out of the trouble he put himself in.
But then after a while, it grew into something beautiful. Dreams can begin small too.
No, I
Take
couldn't.
it. It'll get you the money you need from Mr. Sykes.
5,000 on lucky day to win.
I'm gonna skip the scene where Lenny refuses to eat the shrimp and how he's not a killer like his brother, he's not a shark, etc, etc. So Oscar overhears that the race is rigged and bets on the seahorse called Lucky Day. Assuming he wins, Oscar will bag 1,000,000 clams, and this attracts the attention of this fish called Lola. Oscar didn't smile this hard for Angie, by the way, who saved his life. Anyways, I don't know what Lola is even doing at the racetrack in the first place, but as far as I know, Lola is a bitch. But we'll get into that later. So Oscar starts lying to Lola, saying that he has a box at the seahorse race. Then Sykes catches him lying and finds out he bet the 5 grand Oscar owes him. And Lola also leaves him because he's a nobody and she only likes guys with money. So Lucky Day was actually leading at first, but then trips up at the last minute and loses the race. This results in Sykes getting mad and sends Oscar to get tortured by the Rasta fish. But this fun moment is disturbed when Frankie attempts to kill Oscar when Lenny refuses, resulting in Frankie's death by a falling anchor, just magically. So Lenny swims off in despair, and Oscar lies to Ernie and Bernie that he killed the shark, and they believe him. Not just these 2 idiots, by the way, but the entire reef believe Oscar killed Frankie. During Frankie's funeral, rest in peace, Oscar's on the come up for confessing to a murder, and yeah, I guess it was a shark, so it makes the reef safer, but even then, there was 0 proof and evidence that he killed Frankie, and I mean, just a while back he's shivering in fear over Sykes, now all of a sudden he has the balls to kill a shark. This is just pure deception. Another thing I noticed is that Oscar lets the same henchman who tortured him DJ at his party. Like, damn it, does this guy have any real friends besides Angie? So at his party, him and Angie have a heartfelt conversation, and this fool generally thought that he was going to propose to her, but he ended up returning her grandmother's pearl, which is fair, with a few more pearls added in fact, and she genuinely just looks ungrateful. But this romantic moment is interrupted by Lola, and Oscar's already lost all the composure God has given him, and Lola sweeps Oscar away from Angie like dust. Their conversation literally lasts for like 2 seconds as it's interrupted by an announcement that there's a shark on the reef, and Oscar must go sort it out as he is the shark slayer. So the shark turns out to be Lenny, who wants to go home with Oscar, but then later puts 2 and 2 together to find out that Oscar is lying about being the shark slayer and threatens to bait him out, but Oscar says he can go home with him to keep him quiet. So, by my logic, Lenny is going home with the fish that lied about killing his brother, who also got rich and famous off it. Yeah. Lenny and Oscar kinda have their heart to heart, with Lenny confessing about being a vegetarian, which is basically gay in the shark society. Then Lenny shares that Don Lino is his dad, and Oscar immediately runs to Sykes knowing he messed up.
Shut up, Lito! Shut up!
Shut up! You don't tell me shut up. I tell you shut up.
Come on, now who's your puff daddy, huh? Come on, now who's your puff daddy, huh?
So during all this commotion, Lola was just waiting for Oscar this whole time, just sitting on the couch. So yeah. So after they had their moment, Oscar has an idea for Lenny, but before he can propose this idea, he's stopped by Angie, who plays dumb at the beginning, but then later confesses that Lenny sold him out.
They're wrong.
How could you lie to me, Oscar? Me!
Don't take it personally. Come on, I lied to everybody.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
Expect you just take credit for killing a shark and then everything be fine and dandy for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
So Oscar and Lenny stage a fight to scare the sharks, and Angie's just sitting there being a hater. I mean, to be fair, he did lie, but it's like she doesn't want to see my brother Oscar living life. She just wants to see him as a bum scrubbing tongues for the rest of his life. And bear in mind, they planned this entire stunt in one night. Even the Daredevil Bullseye fight took 3 nights to stunt. So after Lenny and Oscar pull off their stunt successfully, Lola kisses Oscar for the whole reef to see, and Angie is losing her shit. And I know this is a kid's film and Oscar's past love life is never really stated, so I'm unaware of his experience, but damn, he's literally kissing her with his eyes open, and so is she. So instead of being at home for some reason, Angie's sitting in Lenny's home while he's going through his transformation. Oscar belts through the door and him and Lenny kind of talk about how well the stunt went. It looks so staged, and I'm surprised all these idiots in the reef actually ate that stuff up. There's this weird expression Angie makes when Lenny mentions the kiss between Oscar and Lola, and I know she's probably just disgusted, but it looks so weird, and I only noticed that during the editing. So Angie asks Oscar if Lola would love him if he wasn't a somebody, but we already know the answer to that. He knows the answer to that. She wouldn't, as she's made that clear already.
Deep down, I'm really superficial. You're a nobody.
And instead of leveling with Angie, he defends Lola because she treats him like a somebody. You see this somebody, nobody agenda this film loves to push? Now that we're an hour into the film, how many times have we really seen Oscar get treated like a nobody? Everyone around him seems to be civil. I mean, yeah, there's a psych situation, but if someone owed you 5 grand, you'd be frustrated too. So I don't really see this whole the world is against me complex. It's just Oscar wants to be rich by doing nothing but being a dick. Oscar starts screaming that nobody loved him when he was a nobody, and then Angie confessed that she did, and Oscar's just like, huh? During all this commotion, Lenny has finally transformed and become a dolphin. Oscar takes a swim of reflection, realizing that being at the bottom of the reef, the hood, was not as bad as he made it out to be. Back at his house, there's guys just partying in his house like, damn, they have no respect for this guy. So Lola's sitting with some dude and swims her way to Oscar, basically symbolizing that she's been passed around the whole reef. She tries to make Oscar forget about Angie, and he's just staring at her like, yeah, like, not right now, I need time to reflect. So Oscar dumps Lola, and I'm kind of confused, because when did they ever get together? They share a total of like 4 scenes together. One where he was a nobody, a 2-second conversation, that scene, the kiss, and then this. There was no indication that they were in a relationship, a serious one for that matter. But anyways, Lola doesn't like that and beats him up, but Oscar doesn't care because the next day he buys Angie a Valentine's starter pack, and it really took all of this to realize that there was someone that actually cared for him and loved him. To be fair, it took Sam Witwicky the entirety of Transformers 2 to say I love you to his girlfriend of 2 years, to the point where he died, but gets resurrected later. So as Oscar gets to the whale wash, he learns that the shark mob have taken Angie, and Oscar confesses to Sykes that he's a fraud, and Lenny confesses that he's not Sebastian the dolphin, but he's Lenny the shark.
You don't want to see her sleeping with the fishes. The dead ones. Now nod your head if you understand. Now tell me if you nodded your head.
I nodded.
So Oscar, Lenny, and Sykes are at sit down, while Oscar's just messing about with the sharks, and I'm not gonna lie, I'll probably do the same thing. So Don Lino finally shows up and shows Angie tied up, and Oscar claims that he doesn't know her, but then Lola just pops out of nowhere saying that he's lying. She's the one that called this meeting together to set up Oscar. She called the sharks to kidnap Angie so they can get to Oscar. She deserves to be up there. But this scene is actually quite funny. I mean, look at what some of the sharks say.
Not on if I wasn't married.
How you doing, pretty lady?
There's only one thing I like better than money. Revenge.
Oh, I'm in love.
Anyways, Lenny eats up Angie and Oscar continues to be an ass. Like in every situation, he's never serious, and it kind of shows why he is where he is. But because Lenny's a vegetarian, he ends up puking out Angie and a violin and a license plate. I don't know if this is a gag that waste gets thrown into the ocean, but Lino finds out his son has gone through his transformation, and to be honest, from Lino's perspective, his son is chilling with the fish that killed his brother and turned him into a dolphin, so Lino absolutely flips and chases after Oscar as he should. Oscar swims to the whale wash where he uses his skills to trap Lino, and he's named a public hero once again, which to be fair he is. So Angie's still hating, and Oscar's been overwhelmed by his fame. Judging by this frame here that I paused, look how overwhelmed Oscar He literally looks so done with his life.
I am not a real shark slayer!
I lied.
So then Oscar goes on to talk about how everyone loves Lenny for who he is and questions Don Lino for why he can't do the same. So Lino accepts his son for being gay and everyone cheers.
Now what I knew then. I mean, I wish you knew what I knew. Before this.
You're blowing it, man!
Mind your business, alright?
So Oscar says he's nobody without Angie and then they kiss. So Oscar makes peace with the sharks, meaning that they are no longer going to terrorize them anymore. And in a way, he made peace between predator and prey, which is the backbone for this film. This actually qualifies for something like Oscar should actually stay at the top of the reef because he tamed a shark and actually made peace between shark and fish. Like, they could at least give him like a Nobel Peace Prize or something. So after all this commotion, Oscar gets a promotion and becomes the manager of the whale wash. And the credits roll. Yeah, I guess that's a Shark Tale, you know, he lied his way to a promotion. I mean, to be fair, he didn't exactly like slay a shark, but he tamed one, so does that still make him a shark slayer? Like, you know, I don't really know. No, I have no clue. Besides the animation that aged horribly and the many weird character frames and stereotypes, in all fairness, Shark Tale isn't as bad as people make it out to be, and trust me, this isn't the only DreamWorks film where our protagonist is low-key the villain of the film. But until then, I'll see you guys in a bit.